Hey, this is David with Prepper Bookshelf, and I just want to say I've always wanted to read the book that I'm going to talk about today, which is The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. And it wasn't until I got the Starving the Monkeys book that I actually sat down to read it. This isn't the easiest book in the world to read. As a matter of fact, it's one of the hardest books that I've ever sat down to try to go through. This isn't something that you can just read. You have to read a little bit of it, ponder on it, think what the man's saying, and then continue on. But this book was actually published the same year as our Declaration of Independence. It was published back in 1776. And basically, what the author does, what Adam Smith does, is he talks about the very simple notion, but the idea that a lot of people don't come to, that we as individuals are fully capable of setting and regulating prices for goods. That we won't buy things, if left to our own devices, that we won't buy things that cost more than the value we get from them, right? And by supply and demand, that and by the creation of wealth, by this free exchange of goods and services, prices are fixed in the market, and that you don't have all the different price fixing and all the different illicit avenues when you have a totally free market. Argues passionately for free trade, and when done properly, as he talks about in his book, the little guy is protected, right? It's only when you have protectionist policies that big corporations and big business are able to abuse the little guy, right? It's a genius book, and a lot of folks talk about it, and it's the basis for a lot of the theory that governs our system. However, the problem with it is it's been diluted, and people who talk to someone about it, who talk to someone about it, who were taught it from somebody, you may be, three steps away from the actual person that read it, right? And so capitalism as we do it in this country is not the same as capitalism as defined in the Wealth of Nations, right? And if you follow the tandgun.com website, when I talked about, Leonard Read's essay, I Pencil, and that invisible hand, where the guy cutting the tree down and the guy mining the graphite and the guy making latex from the rubber tree, none of them know that what they're doing is going to eventually turn into a pencil. And none of them want a pencil, but they all do it without anybody telling them, for their own good. And people working for their own good is what allows things like pencils or computers or TVs or cars or anything to be made, right? The invisible hand of commerce. And so this is a very good book. Really, you ought to read it and you ought to understand it, because if you don't understand the way the system works, then you basically just fall prey to having to believe what people who do know how the system works, the way that they tell you. Not everybody's going to tell you the truth. So, very important if you're going to be educated about our system of government, our economic system, and what for. So anyway, there you go. The Wealth of Nations, not an easy read, but it's definitely worth it. And so I appreciate you listening. Until next time, you can always get us online at www